There's Nothing Out There. This is a fun parody, mockery film that I've been looking for forever online. And now Trauma Entertainment, who's brought us a bunch of B movies throughout the 70s and 80s. I think they acquired the rights. I don't know if they originally had the rights or whatnot. But anyway, they uploaded on YouTube. Check it out. Check out the trailer first off before you even see this review. It's a B movie that makes fun of B movies. It's a B movie itself, written by, and if you see the trailer, it even mentions written and directed by 20-year-old director Ralph Kanofsky. He created one of the great characters, Mike, or as I like to refer to him as, the original Randy Meeks. Okay, this isn't the first ever horror parody movie. It's kind of like in the same vein as Stu and Body's Night of the Creeps style, where it's a mashup of sci-fi and horror. It's kind of like a slasher setting, but like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Night of the Creeps style sci-fi horror mockery. So that's what you're getting yourself into. And the Mike character, played by Craig Peck, if I'm not mistaken, delivers some of the greatest lines. Oh man, you envy this character. I love this character so much. He's a huge fan of horror films. Basically, the synopsis of this is it's a group of 7 go out to a cabin in the woods, and instead of it just being a psycho slasher that kills them, it's a toad frog, really cheap monster that really brings down the quality of this film. That's probably why it hasn't gotten remembered over the years. Speaking of, a lot of people like to compare it to Scream. Well, you know Ralph Kanofsky probably secretly hates Kevin Williamson. He definitely probably secretly hates Randy Meeks, Jamie Kennedy, Malibu's Most Wanted. You know he does, whether he admitted it or not. But man, I gotta give it to him. What an awesome character. Some of the greatest lines you'll ever hear. He's way funnier than Randy Meeks. He doesn't refer to as many horror movies specifically, but he'll refer to like cliche horror situations. And he just comments on like all the ominous feeling, like once they get out to the cabin, he's like, name a horror film, any horror film. And the douchebag of the group is being the douchebag, and the meathead's being the meathead, and the girls are being bimbos, and they get annoyed by him, even though I find the Mike character just absolutely hilarious. I mean, another one of some of his great quotes, he's just like, a random group of hippies come out there, get naked just for a topless B movie, typical cliche trauma entertainment scene. They're strangers like swimming in the guy's pond, and they're like, oh, he's like, those kids were born to be murder victims, and they just paid us a visit. What, you don't see it? It's called foreshadowing. And he's like, and another bimbo later on in the film, she's like, he is a horror film, a walking, talking horror film. And after the chaos starts, which doesn't start as early as I thought it would, it kind of starts later on in the film, basically so the Mike character can annoy the other characters and deliver a bunch of more one-liners. After the chaos starts, Mike suggests to go back into the house twice during the movie. Even if you've seen that many horror movies, you never go back inside the house. You pick one direction and you run. But it's a movie. I'm going with it. I'm still tuned in. All right, go. What? What movie review am I doing? Hold up. What planet am I on? What state am I in? What galaxy am I in? Oh yeah. No wait. There's Nothing Out There. Even though I used to call this movie There's Something Out There. And shaving cream. Shaving cream kills this monster toad prop. It's fucking retarded. And the last 20 minutes aren't as suspenseful or as great as you'd hope them to be. And it does mind control on them. so that gets kind of boring. And they don't really elaborate too much on the death scenes. They kind of cut away from them, and you could tell they're kind of prop fake. But there's actually the one where Jim's melting is definitely the dopest scene. And then the Mike character delivers the great line where he's like, "Oh, where's..." One of the bimbos is like, "Where's Jim?" And he's like, "Oh, Jim, he's melting in the other room right now." It's fucking classic. Just see the trailer, you'll know exactly what. Once you see the trailer, you'll just be dying to see this movie, just like I was. And you could see it on YouTube, like I said. Then at the end of the movie, they pick up the random hitchhiker at the end, who is the girl in the opening scene. Another thing about the opening scene, it starts off like video violence style in like a horror, like in a video store, and like the bitch, and it shows like titles of random horror movies like The Prey or Pieces and like The Mutilator, but it doesn't show like the title of the movie. It'll just show like the cover art, so it doesn't give them advertising at all. But they don't do any drugs in this movie. I don't know why he excluded that out completely. That doesn't really make any sense. Maybe the biker gang does do drugs for a moment, but I didn't really see. But the main group, they all go out there sober. They don't even go out there with beers or anything. It's spring break. Like they're so happy to go out on spring break because the opening's like the school, and they're like, "We're out on spring break," but they got no beer. Like, what kind of a horror movie is this? Tell me, Ralph Kanowski, what kind of a horror movie is this? Man, you got talent, man. His career is kind of floundered. This movie doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, which is a disgrace. You can't say that Kevin Williamson completely jacked the idea, because Kevin Williamson's more idea was Scream isn't really a parody. It's a satire based like in reality. Basically, like, it's how the 80s horror era affected a psychopath, Billy Loomis, because he grew up in the 80s, and how that affected a psychopath in real life. This isn't real life. This is a parody of obviously sci-fi and horror. But the Randy Meeks character, you gotta say he was inspired. Who knows if Kevin Williamson even saw the movie, though? I mean, he had to have some awareness of it, even though the guy isn't that as knowledgeable at his horror movies as you think, since he doesn't even make a reference to Return to Horror High in his movies, Kevin Williamson. He doesn't make a reference to Happy Birthday to Me, even though he jacked a lot of swag from that, like I always say in my other videos. But where am I here? But so he doesn't, and I don't know what I was talking about. Anyway, I'm pretty much out. I've given enough thoughts on this. So yeah, they don't do drugs, and they pick up the hitchhiker at the end. They end up. Oh, and then like Mike asks her, he's like, "So Sally, have you had any kinky sex lately?" And she's like, "What?" And they kick her out. Shit's hilarious. Great fun film. Actually, it isn't that great. It's just good. It's a good watch. But yeah, definitely recommend checking it out. As a movie, I'd give it a C+. As a horror movie of that era, who even knows when this came out? I don't know what credit it gets. Some people say 89, some people say 1990, some people say 91, 92. But I'm going to give it a B as a horror movie. Anyway, this was JBM from VillainNews, Villain Radio, Mr. Creepshow 09. Hit me up, leave your comments, check out this movie. Shout out to Ralph Kanowski. Man, I'd like to see some of your other work, dog. Hopefully you didn't lose it. Hopefully you just had the young enthusiasm, and he put all his work into this, and he burned out after that. Who the hell knows? But he was 20 when he made this. Damn. Okay, I'm out.